I borrowed money secretly, working double to repay it. Only to surprise her with the necklace she loved. But when I placed it around her neck, she said another man's gift already shined brighter. I need to get this out before it kills me inside. 3 months ago, I thought I was the luckiest guy alive. Today, I'm writing this from a studio apartment that smells like instant ramen and regret. Her name was Sarah. 5 years together. Ring bought. Wedding planned for next spring. She had this laugh that could fix any bad day, and these eyes that saw the best in everyone, especially me. God, especially me. The necklace started it all. Not the cheating part. That was all me being a selfish piece of garbage. But the money part that led to everything falling apart like dominoes. Sarah saw it in a jewelry store window downtown. White gold with this tiny diamond pendant that caught the light just right. She stopped walking mid-sentence and just stared. "It's beautiful," she whispered, and I saw her look at the price tag and immediately look away. $3,200. 3 months of my salary. Maybe for our anniversary. I said. But we both knew our anniversary was in 2 weeks. And we were saving every penny for the wedding. She smiled that smile that meant, "It's okay, I don't need it." But I could see the one in her eyes. The same look she got when she talked about the honeymoon we couldn't afford, or house we might buy someday, if we ever stopped being broke. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah was curled next to me, her engagement ring catching the streetlight through our bedroom window. The ring I'd saved for 8 months to buy. The ring that cost less than that necklace. I wanted to give her everything. I wanted to be the guy who could walk into that store and buy her whatever made her eyes light. Instead, I was the guy who counted grocery money twice and drove a car with a check engine light that had been on for 6 months. So I did something. I borrowed the money. Not from a bank. My credit was garbage from college loans. Not from family, they were already helping with wedding costs. I borrowed it from Tony, this guy I worked construction with who always had cash and never asked too many questions about why he had it. $3,000. Tony said. Lighting a cigarette outside the job site. Standard rate. $4,000 back in 2 months. $1,000 in interest. My stomach twisted, but I shook his hand anyway. The next month was. I picked every overtime shift available. Worked weekends. Took a second job doing inventory at a warehouse from midnight to 6 a.m. Then showed to construction at 7. Sarah thought I was being ambitious about our future. Or working so hard for us. She'd say, massaging my shoulders when I collapsed into bed. The guilt was eating me alive, not just about the money. About lying to her. How was work? Honey. Felt like a twist. But I kept picturing her face when I'd surprise her with that necklace. How her eyes would light. How she'd know that her future husband would move mountains to make her happy. I was so focused on working every possible hour that I barely saw Sarah. We'd pass each other in the hallway, her leaving for her teaching job, me coming home to shower before my night shift. "I miss," she'd say. But I was always rushing. "Just a few more weeks. I'd promise. Things will slow down soon." 3 weeks in, I was dead on my feet. That's when Jake, another construction guy, invited me out for drinks. "Dude, look like one. Come on." The bar was loud and dark and I felt human for the first time in weeks. Jake was buying rounds and complaining about his ex-wife when she walked in. Her name was Monica. Blonde hair, short dress, laugh that carried across the room. She worked at the bank downtown, Jake said. Recently divorced. She's been asking about, he added with a grin. I should have left right then. Should have gone home to Sarah, who was probably grading papers at our kitchen table, wondering when her fiancé turned into a ghost. Instead, I stayed for another drink. Then another. Monica slid into the booth next to me. "Look stressed," she said, her hand finding my shoulder. "What's eating at?" And I told her. About the necklace, about working, feeling like I could never give Sarah what she deserved. Monica listened with these sympathetic eyes and ordered us another round. "We're a good man," she said. "Sarah's lucky to have someone who cares so much." Her hand was still on my shoulder. Then my arm. Then she was laughing at everything I said and sitting closer, and I was feeling I hadn't felt in weeks. Appreciated. "I should go," I said around midnight. "One more drink?" Monica said. "It's still early. It wasn't early, it was late. Too late for a lot of things. I don't remember deciding to go back to her apartment. I remember her key in the lock, remember thinking this was wrong. Remember telling I was just making sure she got home safe. I remember her lips tasting like whiskey and poor decisions. I woke at 5 a.m. in her bed, my phone buzzing with texts from Sarah. Hope shift is going well. Love, Paw. Can't wait for to come home. Made favorite coffee for when get back. I in Monica's bathroom and ran. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my. Sarah was asleep in our bed, her hand reaching across to where I should have been. I showered until the hot water ran cold, scrubbing at skin that would never feel clean again. For 2 weeks, I told it was just a mistake. A one-time thing. I worked my shifts, avoided Jake's invitations, and tried to be the fiancé Sarah deserved. But Monica kept texting. Had fun the other night. Thinking about Pite. Want to grab coffee? I should have blocked her number. Should have confessed everything to Sarah right then. Instead, I met her for coffee. Just to explain it was a mistake, I told. Just to make sure she understood it couldn't happen again. 2 hours later, we were back at her apartment. This time, I didn't have as an excuse. This time, it was just me being weak and selfish, and throwing away the best thing in my for 20 minutes, with someone who didn't even know my middle name. The pattern continued for 3 weeks. I'd work my shifts, come home to Sarah, play the loving fiancé. Then I'd make excuses. Had to work late, meeting with the guys, running errands, and drive to Monica's place. Sarah started asking questions. Seemed different lately. Okay? Did I do something wrong? Each question was a dagger. Just stressed about money. I'd say which was partly true. Tony was starting to text about repayment. Work's been crazy. Sarah would nod and try to help. Bring me dinner at the job site. Leave little notes in my lunch. Plan quiet nights in, because she thought I was exhausted. I was exhausted. Exhausted from lying. From sneaking around. From being two different people. But I couldn't stop. Monica was everything Sarah wasn't. Carefree, no expectations, no shared bills or wedding stress or future plans. With Monica, I could pretend to be someone else. Someone who wasn't drowning in debt and lies. Finally, I had enough saved to pay Tony back, and buy the necklace. I remember standing in that jewelry store, the same one where Sarah had seen it weeks ago, and feeling like I'd climbed a mountain. Special occasion, the sales girl asked. Surprise for my fiancé, I said, the word tasting like ash. I planned it perfectly. Sarah's favorite restaurant. A quiet corner table, the necklace hidden in my jacket pocket. She wore the blue dress I loved, the one that brought out her eyes. She was glowing, talking about wedding details, and how proud she was of how hard I'd been working. Been so distant lately, she said over dessert. But I know it's just stress. We're going to have such a beautiful together. I pulled out the box. Her face lit exactly like I'd imagined. Oh my God, she whispered. It's the necklace from the store. We can't afford this. I said, my voice catching. I wanted to have it. She cried. Happy tears, she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I love so much. Incredible. I fastened it around her neck right there in the restaurant. It looked perfect on her, catching the candlelight, making her even more beautiful than usual. Other diners smiled at us. A few people clapped. I felt like the biggest in the world. We went home and Sarah modeled the necklace in the mirror, taking selfies to send to her sister. I can't believe did this, she kept saying. How did manage it? Overtime, I lied, lots of overtime. She hugged me tight. I'm gonna wear it every day. It's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me. That night, while Sarah slept with the necklace carefully placed on her nightstand, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The debt was paid. The debt that was paid. I could end things with Monica and never see her again. Sarah would never have to her again. I almost convinced it could work. Then Sarah's phone buzzed at 2 a.m. She stirred and reached for it, squinting at the screen. I pretended to be asleep, watching through barely open eyes as her face changed from confused to horrified. What the? She whispered. My turn to ice. Monica had sent photos. Photos of us together. Photos I didn't even know she'd taken. With a nussage that made my world collapse. Thanks for a fun few weeks! Hope girlfriend likes the necklace, bought with overtime money. Sarah's hand flew to her throat, touching the necklace. Then she looked at me, and I knew was over. Michael, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Wake. I opened my eyes and saw my future crumbling in real time. We need to talk. That conversation destroyed me in ways I didn't know were possible. Sarah sat on the edge of our bed, still in her pajamas, the necklace glinting around her neck like a... She held her phone with those photos like evidence in a trial. Which, in a way, it was. Of everything we'd built together. How long? She asked. Her voice was steady but her hands were shaking. I could have lied. Could have said, it was just that one night. Just a mistake. Just meaningless. But seeing her sitting there, wearing the necklace I'd bought with and betrayal, something broke open in me. 3 weeks, I said. She closed her eyes. 3 weeks. She repeated it like she was trying to make the words make sense, while I was planning our wedding. While I was telling everyone how it were working for us. Sarah. Please. Don't. She held a hand. Don't. She stood and walked to the mirror. Looked at herself wearing the necklace. Touched it with her fingertips like it was burning her skin. This is how bought it. She said. Not a question. A statement. Borrowed money from someone. That's why we're working all those extra shifts. To pay it back. I nodded because what was the point of lying now? And while we're drowning in debt that I didn't even know about, we're sleeping with her. The word came out like saying Monica's name would contaminate the air. It wasn't about her, I said, which was the truth, but also the most inadequate thing I could have said. Sarah laughed, not the laugh I fell in love with. This was bitter and broken. Then what was it about, Michael? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like decided to risk everything we had for someone barely know. I felt like I was failing, I said. Like I couldn't give what deserved. Like I wasn't enough. So, proved it by cheating on me. The logic was so twisted I couldn't even defend it. I know how it sounds. Don't know anything. She ripped the necklace off her neck so hard the chain caught in her hair. She hid at my feet. Have no idea how this sounds. Have no idea what done. The necklace lay there between us like a dead thing. All that money. All those lies. All those nights away from her. For this moment right here. Sarah started pacing. 3 weeks. 3 weeks looked me in the eye every morning, and told me loved me. 3 weeks, let me plan our wedding, send out invitations. Put deposits down on venues. 3 weeks let me brag to my friends about my hardworking fiancé. Each word was a punch to the gut. I do love. Stop. Her voice cracked. Just stop. Don't get to say that anymore. She went to our closet and pulled out a suitcase. Started throwing clothes into it. Not carefully folding like she usually did. Just grabbing armfuls and shoving them in. Where are going? I asked. My sisters. I can't be here. I can't look at right now. Sarah, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling, we can. She spun around. Work through this. Michael, borrowed money from God knows who, lied to me for weeks. And had an affair. While I was picking out flowers for our wedding bouquet. We're in bed with someone else. There's no working through that. It meant nothing. She meant nothing. Then why did keep going back? The question hung in the air like smoke. If it meant nothing, why didn't stop after the first time? I had no answer. Because the truth was that I kept going back. Because it felt good to be someone else. Someone without responsibilities. Without a mortgage to save for. Without a fee. Asking how his day was when his day was spent lying to her face. I don't know, I said. Don't know. She zipped the suitcase closed. Well, I know. Kept going back because her selfish. Because wanted to have cake, and eat it too. Wanted the safety of our relationship and the excitement of sneaking around. She was right. God help me, she was completely right. The worst part, Sarah said, slinging the suitcase over her shoulder, is that I would have been happy with a $20 necklace from Target, if bought it honestly. But had to lie. Had to make it complicated. Had to risk everything for ego. She walked toward the door, then stopped. And Michael. She didn't just send me the photos. She sent them to my work email too. And tagged me in them on social media before I could block her. My heart stopped. What? Everyone knows. My students saw them. This morning before I could get to school to do damage control. My principal called me into her office. My parents are driving down, because my mom saw them on Facebooking. Sarah worked at an elementary school. Taught second grade. Her reputation, her career, everything she'd worked for. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't explain to 27-7-year-olds why their teacher was crying in the hallway. Sorry doesn't undo the fact that everyone in my professional now knows the most details of my personal point. She opened the bedroom door. I'm staying in Emma's. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show there. I need time to figure out how to rebuild my bye. What about the wedding? She turned back one last time. Her eyes were red but dry now. All cried out. What wedding, Michael? Killed it. Killed all of it. After she left, I sat in our empty bedroom for hours. The necklace was still on the floor where she'd thrown it. I picked it and held it in my hands. $3,000. A month of overtime. Weeks of lies. All for this piece of metal and stone that now felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The silence in the apartment was suffocating. No Sarah humming while she made coffee. No Sarah's laugh echoing from the living room while she watched her shows. No Sarah, period. I tried calling her around noon, straight to voicemail. I tried texting. Please let me explain. I know I messed. I love, all delivered but never read. By evening, the social media posts had spread beyond Sarah's immediate circle. Someone had shared them in our neighborhood Facebook group. Someone else had sent screenshots to people from our engagement party. My phone was buzzing nonstop with texts from friends and family. Dude, what the? From my best man Jake. Different Jake from work, which made everything more confusing. Michael, call me immediately. From my mother. We're a piece of garbage. From Sarah's sister Emma. Sarah's heartbroken. How could do this to her? From Sarah's college roommate. Each message was like a nail in my coffin. By midnight, I'd turned my phone off completely. The next morning, I went to work hoping for some normalcy. Instead, I found out that Tony, the guy I'd borrowed money from, had heard about everything through the construction site gossip chain. Heard got caught. He said, lighting his morning cigarette. That's rough, man. It's complicated, I said. Always is? He flicked ash into the dirt. Woman, right? Can't live with them. Can't afford them. His casual dismissal of what I'd lost made me want to punch him. But I needed this job now more than ever. Without Sarah's income, without our shared, I was barely going to make rent. Listen. Tony continued. I know a guy who might be interested in that necklace, if we're looking to make some quick cash. Pawn shops don't give fair value on nice jewelry. The suggestion made me sick. Sell the necklace that destroyed my relationship to some fence. Turn my $1,000 gesture into straight, criminal activity. I'll think about it. I lied. Work was. Half the crew had seen the social media posts. The other half heard about them from the first half. I was either getting pitying looks or disgusted ones. No middle ground. My wife wants to invite Sarah over for dinner, said Pete, one of the older guys. Make sure she's eating. No. Woman shouldn't have to go through this alone. The fact that my coworkers were taking better care of my ex-fiancé than I was able to was another kick in the teeth. During lunch break, I drove past Sarah's school. Not to see her. I promised I wouldn't. But because it was on the way to grab food. There were news vans in the parking lot. News vans. I pulled over and called Emma, Sarah's sister. What do want? She answered without a hello. Why are there news vans at Sarah's school? Because side piece decided to give interviews. She's claiming told her Sarah was. And that we're planning to leave her anyway. She's painting herself as some kind of homewrecker hero. Who was saving from a terrible relationship. My vision blurred. That's not true. None of that is true. No, it's not true, Michael. But she's convincing. And she's pretty. And she's on every local news station. Right now talking about an emotional affair that turned physical. Because she was helping through a difficult time. I wanted to throw. Monica was rewriting our entire story. Making herself the victim and Sarah the villain. She's making Sarah look like some kind of controlling monster. Emma continued. And look like a poor, trapped man who just needed love. It's point. I never said any of that to her. Sarah wasn't controlling. Sarah was perfect. Tell it to the cameras, Michael. Because right now, everyone thinks Sarah drove into another woman's arms. The call ended. I sat in my truck in a McDonald's parking lot and screamed until my throat was raw. That night, the news story aired. Monica, looking perfectly composed in a tasteful blouse, sitting in what looked like a therapist's office, talking about how I'd confided in her about my troubled relationship. He was working himself to buy her expensive jewelry. Monica said, eyes glistening with tears. He felt like nothing he did was ever good enough. I just wanted to be there for him during a difficult time. The interviewer, some local news anchor, who probably got her degree from a cereal box, nodded sympathetically. And the physical relationship that developed. It wasn't something either of us planned, Monica said. But when someone is that lonely, that desperate for understanding, sometimes these things just happen. I the TV remote through the screen. The story painted Sarah as materialistic and demanding. Me as a victim of circumstance. Monica as a compassionate woman caught in a tragic situation. It was all lies. Every word of it. But lies told on television are harder to than truth whispered in bedrooms. My phone started ringing again. More reporters wanting my side of the story. More friends asking what really happened. More family members wondering how I could let this happen. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I drove to the jewelry store where I'd bought the necklace. The same sales girl was working. Return. She asked when she saw me. Is that possible? She examined the necklace, checking for damage. Normally we don't accept returns on custom engraved pieces, she said. It's not engraved. No. But, she looked closer. Oh my. Is this the necklace from the news story? Even the jewelry store employees knew about my shame. I can give store credit, she said quietly. But not cash back. Polystore credit. For what? What was I going to buy at a jewelry store now? An apology gift for the woman who wouldn't speak to me. A guilt present for. Never mind. I said. I drove home to our apartment. My apartment now. I guess. And sat in the living room, where Sarah and I used to watch movies together. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. Her book was still on the coffee table. Bookmarks sticking out from chapter 12. It had been 48 hours since she left, and the place already felt like a mausoleum. Full of dead dreams and empty spaces where her laugh used to echo. The necklace sat on the kitchen counter, catching the overhead light. Beautiful and tainted by everything I'd done to get it. I thought about Sarah, probably crying into her sister's couch pillows, watching herself get destroyed on the news by a woman who didn't even know her real name. I thought about Monica, probably feeling vindicated and famous, turning our weeks of sneaking around into some kind of romantic narrative for public consumption. I thought about sitting alone in an apartment that smelled like Sarah's perfume and tasted like regret. The worst part wasn't losing her, though that was destroying me. The worst part was knowing that I'd lost her for nothing. For absolutely nothing at all. 3 months later. And I'm writing this from a studio apartment that cost twice what our old place. Because no decent landlord will rent to someone whose background check turns news articles about infidelity. Yes, those articles are still online. Yes, they show when employers Google my name. Yes, Maya's permanently documented as a cautionary tale about what happens when trade everything real for something. Sarah never came back. Not even for her things. Emma, her sister, came by 2 weeks after the news story aired. She brought boxes and garbage bags and a look on her face. Like I was something stuck to her shoe. She doesn't want to see, Emma said, packing Sarah's books, ever. She's made that very clear. How is she? I asked because I had to know. Michael. Emma held Sarah's favorite coffee mug, the one that said, World's okayest teacher, that I'd bought her as a joke. She had to take leave from work, because parents complained about was involved in a scandal. 7-year-olds were asking her why she was crying every day. She loved those kids and took that away from her too. Every word was a nail in my coffin. I never meant a lot of things. But did them anyway. Emma packed Sarah's clothes, her photos, her little decorative plants that always made our place feel like home. Watching our get dismantled box by box was like watching my own autopsy. She's seeing someone, Emma said as she folded Sarah's wedding dress into tissue paper. The dress she'd bought 6 months ago when we still believed in forever. My heart stopped. Already? Not like that. A therapist. She's been having panic. Can't sleep. Keeps checking locks on doors, because she doesn't trust her own judgment about people anymore. Emma looked at me with pure hatred. Didn't just break her heart, Michael. Broke her sense of reality. She trusted completely. And now she guesses everything. The wedding dress disappeared into a box. All that hope and planning and joy, folded away, like it never existed. The wedding venue won't refund the deposit? Emma continued. Neither will the caterer or the florist. Sarah's out $4,000 because canceling due to groom infidelity isn't covered in their contracts. $4,000. More than the necklace cost. Money Sarah didn't have, because she was a teacher who spent her own salary on classroom supplies for kids whose parents couldn't afford them. I'll pay her back, I said. With what money? Got fired 3 days after the news story aired. Word travels fast in construction. No one wants to hire someone whose personal drama becomes public spectacle. She was right. Tony's crew dropped me the minute it became clear I was more liability than asset. Turns out having love become local news makes unemployable in a small industry where reputation matters. Emma packed the last box and labeled it in neat handwriting. Sarah's before Michael ruined it. One more thing, she said, pulling out an envelope. Sarah wanted to have this. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Sarah's handwriting, the same neat script that used to leave me love notes in my lunch. Michael. I hope someday understand what destroyed. It wasn't just our relationship. It was my ability to trust. To believe in love. To feel safe in the world. I gave everything I had, and gave it away for nothing. Don't contact me, don't try to apologize. Don't show it places think I might be. I need to heal, and I can't do that with reminders of how foolish I was to believe in us. The girl cheated with called me yesterday. She wanted to clear the air about the news story. She said cried when told her about me. She said called me controlling and demanding. She said, we're planning to break with me anyway. I know probably didn't say those things. But the fact that she could lie so easily about something so devastating me, what kind of person chose over me? That says everything about judgment and character. I'm keeping the engagement ring. Not because I want it, but because pawning it will help cover the wedding deposits left me with. It seems fitting somehow. I loved completely. I believed in completely. I would have spent my whole making happy. I hope whatever got from her was worth it. Sarah, I read that letter 50 times before Emma left. Each word was perfectly chosen to as deep as possible. And every was deserved. The months that followed were a blur of job rejections, and studio apartment walls, and too much cheap whiskey. I tried dating apps. But matching with someone when Google results include phrases like cheating scandal and homewrecker drama is basically impossible. The few women who did match with me either wanted to hear the whole sordid story for entertainment value, or assumed I was some kind of serial cheater looking for the next victim. Neither was wrong. Really. Monica tried to contact me a few times after the news story died down. Texts about how crazy everything got. Suggestions we should lay low for a while. Hints that maybe we could pick where we left off once the dust settled. I blocked her number after the third message. Whatever I'd thought I wanted from her had evaporated. The moment I saw Sarah's face that night. Monica was just a stranger who'd helped me destroy the best thing in and I could even blame her for it. She didn't owe Sarah anything. I did. I found out through mutual friends that Sarah had moved 3 hours away. Got a job at a school district where no one knew her story. Started over completely. Like our 5 years together never happened. She seems happy. Jake, my former best man, told me when I ran into him at a gas station. Different, but happy. More guarded, I guess. But she's dating someone new. A teacher at her school. Seems like a good guy. The image of Sarah with someone else. Someone who would never lie to her face or sneak around behind her back. Should have made me happy for her. Instead, it felt like being stabbed with a rusty. Good for her. I managed to say. Know what's weird? Jake said, pumping gas. She never badmouths. Even after everything that happened. She won't let people talk around her. Says it's not productive to hold on to anger. Sarah, still protecting me even after I'd destroyed her. Still being the better person, even when she had every right to me forever. That conversation happened 6 weeks ago. It's what finally made me write this whole story down, because I realized something that's been eating at me for months. I keep waiting for the moment when this all feels worth it, when the excitement or passion, or whatever, I thought I was getting from Matakat adds, to something that makes sense against everything I lost. That moment isn't coming, because what I lost wasn't just a relationship, it was a person who loved me. That she worked 2 jobs to help pay for our wedding. Who brought me coffee every morning exactly how I liked it. Who bragged about me to her friends and family like I was some kind of prize. What I lost was someone who trusted me with her whole heart, her whole future, her whole. Someone who would have walked through fire for me, and did walk through the everyday fires of loving an imperfect man, who couldn't see how lucky he was. What I lost was a woman who saw a necklace in a store window, and lit like Christmas morning. Not because she wanted me to buy it for her, but because she was imagining some distant future when we could afford small luxuries together. She wasn't demanding anything. She was dreaming about us. And what did I get in return for destroying all of that? 3 weeks of sneaking around with someone who barely knew me. Someone who turned our private moments into public entertainment. The second it benefited her. Someone who felt so meaningless that I can barely remember what we talked about, when we were in what. Well. No. I traded a woman, who would have loved me for 50 years for someone who couldn't even spell my last name correctly in her news interviews. The necklace is still in my kitchen drawer. I can't bring to sell it or throw it away, or even look at it most days. It sits there like a monument to the stupidest decision any human being has ever made. Sometimes I take it out, and imagine the alternate timeline, where I just worked overtime honestly, saved the money slowly, and gave it to Sarah, for our first anniversary, as a married couple. Where she's wearing it in photos, from our honeymoon. Or showing it off to our kids someday. Telling them the story of how daddy worked extra hard to buy mommy something special. Instead, it's a $3,000 paperweight in a studio apartment, that smells like regret, and instant ramen. I've been in therapy for 2 months now. Morrison keeps asking me what I learned from all this. Like there's some neat little lesson that makes sense of the wreckage. Here's what I learned. When have something real, something honest, something built on actual love and trust and shared dreams, protect it like depends on it. Because it does. Don't risk it for excitement. Don't trade it for novelty. Don't throw it away, because some stranger in a bar makes feel temporarily interesting. Definitely don't lie to the person who loves most just so can afford to buy them a gift they never asked for. But mostly, I learned that some mistakes don't get fixed. Some trust doesn't get rebuilt. Some love doesn't get second chances. No matter how sorry are, or how much therapy do, or how many letters write they'll never send. I learned that I'm sorry is just noise when proven that word means nothing. And I learned that the worst part of losing someone isn't missing them. Though I miss Sarah every single day. The worst part is knowing that only have to blame. That had everything ever wanted, and gave it away for nothing. There's no villain in this story except me. No evil other woman, who seduced me against my will. No terrible girlfriend who drove me into someone else's arms. Just a selfish man who convinced himself he deserved more than he had, and lost everything in the process. To everyone who read this whole mess, if have someone who loves, who trusts, who builds it with brick by brick. Me. Don't convince that missing out on something better. Don't risk the real thing for a thrill. Because 3 months later, the thrill is long gone. But the real thing destroyed. That haunts every single day for the rest of. The necklace was never the problem. Sarah would have been happy with a $20 ring from a vending machine if I'd given it to her with an honest heart. The problem was me thinking I deserved more than I had. When I had was everything.